Call the meeting to order.
3 years ago.
Nichols,
Yes.
Flash,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bud.
Okay, this evening we first item on our agenda is the presentation, Department of Public Safety. Bruce?
I'm going to turn to Chief Rocket to introduce her promotions and some of the new staff changes.
Okay. We have promoted some sergeants and a detective. The position of detective is generally a promotion from police officer, and to be eligible, an officer must have several years of experience and demonstrate investigative and problem-solving skills, and they're usually assigned the complex cases to follow up. And that sounds kind of bland and misleading when all you have to do is watch TV for a couple of hours, and you'll see that being a detective is a lot of unsupervised excitement, flashy cars and clothes and complicated crimes with twists and turns and code words. And that's why we have selected Jim Day to that post. Seriously, Officer Day has been selected and duly promoted detective because he possesses the necessary skills, he has the necessary experience, and he displays the leadership that we're looking for. We have also promoted some sergeants. The word sergeant is derived from the French and translates roughly one who serves. The chevrons on their sleeves will be a badge of honor to mark them as the main supporters of the Klan, and they symbolize the strengthening mechanism and the rafters of the house. They did not win these stripes, they earned them. They weren't given to them because they had served a certain number of days, they earned them. They will not fully have earned the stripes until they have worn them. Having been selected and duly promoted to sergeant, they now face another transition, their induction into leadership. Because being a sergeant is more than acquiring skills, passing boards, and completing courses, it's a change in the mindset that says, I will be a professional at all times, in all ways. I will care for and train my officers, whereas before I was only concerned with my own training, welfare, and mission accomplishment. The people I present to you tonight have risen to the challenge and are ready for recommendation and transition to the leadership of Mexico Department of Public Safety. And I present Sergeant Russell Singh, Sergeant Darren Price, Sergeant William Johnson, and Detective Jim Day. They wanted to say something, I think. Okay.
I'm Detective Day. Well, I will be October 1st anyways. I'm just extremely excited about my opportunity to be a detective for the City of Mexico, and I'm looking forward to solve some cases and getting out of this blue uniform. Thank you.
I will miss you on the first responder part.
Yeah, thank you. I will too.
Hi folks, I'm familiar with most of you folks. My name is William Johnson. I was promoted to sergeant at the beginning of September. I've been an officer with public safety for approximately 5.5 years. My mission is the same as it was the day I started, providing professional police and fire service to the community. I've got a family that I'm raising in this community, and I've taken it as a personal responsibility to maintain the professional standard of public safety. So I appreciate the promotion, and hopefully I can do a good job for the community. Thanks.
Thank you.
Russell Singh, and I'm honored to be in the position of fire sergeant. One of my main goals is to try to do my best to provide good training for the officers in the fire side and continue to keep it going as good as it is and hopefully make it better. So appreciate the opportunity.
I'm Darren Price, promoted to sergeant as Mr. Miller served under you. Mr. Nichols worked with you, and a few of I've met and dealt with out on the streets. It's been a privilege working here. It's been a privilege working here for 12 years. I've been here for 12 years and was promoted to corporal after my second year. My goal was 5 years, but hey, 5, 12, it's all there. But I enjoy my job, and I'm really looking forward to the sergeant's position to get my guys' training and everything like that really going, and maybe look at maybe streamlining some of the paperwork and helping them out with that. So again, thank you very much.
Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for serving our community. We really appreciate what you do. Your jobs mean so much to the citizens of Mexico.
Thank you.
Excellent choices.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from September 10th, 2012, regular meeting. And I move we approve those minutes.
Second. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is a public hearing. We have a public hearing this evening to consider a change to sanitary sewer use charge rates. I move that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Nichols?
Yes.
Nash?
Yes?
Williams?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. The public hearing has been advertised, and to cover the details of the hearing, we will turn to Roger Haynes.
Good evening. This evening I'm going to talk a little bit about our current wastewater rates and our proposed rates, give us a little bit of a history as to follow up with the presentation that Kenzie made earlier this evening as far as the improvements that we're making out at the wastewater treatment plant collection system, and then a short PowerPoint that kind of summarizes our cost for this year and then moving forward. As Bruce mentioned, a notice of this public hearing was advertised in the Mexico Ledger, and that was on August 20th, 2012. Our current user charge and capital charge portion is $3.45 per 100 cubic feet with a base rate of $6.62. Our proposed user charge and capital charge portion would be adjusted to $3.87 per 100 cubic feet with a base rate per month of $7.42. To give someone a billing example, a monthly sewer fee based on 5,236 gallons or 700 cubic feet per month would currently run $30.77. The proposed rate adjustment would have that same usage move to $34.46. As a little bit of background, in February of 2008, the City of Mexico retained the engineering services of Horner and Schifrin out of St. Louis to complete a capital asset analysis and facility plan on the city's wastewater treatment operation. In April of 2009, Horner and Schifrin made a presentation to Council on their findings and recommendation. The study clearly revealed that our aging infrastructure, industrial pretreatment program, and modifications to the regulatory requirements mandated by the Department of Natural Resources for effluent limitations created an immediate need for an upgrade of our existing wastewater facilities. The facility plan outlined an estimated $12,461,000 in capital improvements, with an initial phase 1 estimated investment of approximately $5.7 million, with the remaining facility and infrastructure improvements being made through succeeding phases. Following Horner and Schifrin's presentation, Municipal and Financial Services Group came up with a multi-year financial plan for paying for those improvements. On August 4th, 2009, it was presented to the voters a bond issue of $16 million cap so that we could go forward with these improvements. It passed by a 10-to-1 margin. That following August, with applicable public hearings and voter approval for issuing revenue bonds, the city proceeded by ordinance an amendment to change the sanitary sewer use charges, allowing the funding mechanisms to get the needed capital improvements underway. Since that initial start back in August of 2009, we have, of course, completed Phase 1, and we are currently wrapping up Phase 2, to which we have borrowed by bonds approximately $11.4 million. In keeping with the 10-year financial projection being presented to council and the public, a scheduled sewer rate adjustment is required to provide adequate financial resources for debt service and continued improvements to the wastewater treatment plant and collection system. I'm going to go through this slide presentation and give us an overview of this year's rate adjustment and then a little bit of information moving forward. Again, when we go to look at the rates, we look at rates that will cover 4 main categories. The first one would be just our daily operations and maintenance, which is basically what it costs to treat the influent at the plant and, of course, house that and man that with personnel, chemicals, and day-to-day monitoring of the flow going in, including testing and whatever else DNR may require of us. Secondly, cash-funded capital expenditures, vehicles and equipment. As Kennedy mentioned earlier in the study session, we're going to try to do some cash capital expenditures such as slip lining, of course, replacement of vehicles, anywhere from our jet trucks to even equipment such as our camera system that can go down through the lines and help identify line breaks or needed repairs. Third would be our debt service obligations. Of course, if you borrow money to make repairs that need to be made, you do need to pay the bank back, and in this case, we're paying our bonds through the paying agent, United Missouri Bank, so that people that invest in those bonds can be paid promptly. Then last but not least is, of course, ongoing repairs, renewal, and replacement reserves. Things are going to break. Equipment does get old, so you hope to set back adequate reserves so you can pay for that in cash. You don't have to go out and borrow money for $100,000 projects out of the wastewater treatment plant and the collection system. Estimated operating and maintenance expense. We have a bar graph here that shows what we estimated for this year. Our O&M cost will run about $1.4 million. The fiscal year, which we have in our budget for fiscal 13, which is in our 13 budget outline that, again, we'll discuss later this evening, is about $1.445 million. And then, of course, you can see that making changes from fiscal year 14 through fiscal year 21. As far as our O&M and looking at those particular changes from year to year, you're looking at adjustments anywhere from 2.5% to 5%, which I would think most people would consider very reasonable when you go to look at personnel costs, supplies, and services, and so on and so forth. On the next slide, we're outlining some of the cash-funded capital outlays that we're looking at taking care of during 2013. As mentioned in the study session earlier this evening, we'd like to do approximately $200,000 a year in slip lining. This particular year, we have in cash-funded improvements about $175,000 for that project, and of course there may also be some bond-funded money that will allow us to add to that. We'll see how that all figures out as we wrap up Phase 2. And of course, we have a number of lift stations which we need to make improvements to, not only in their capacity, but also their ability to give us proper notification when they fail. Because if pumps and lift stations fail, then everything backs up and the phone calls can certainly begin. Next, we're looking at purchasing a generator. This is so that if we would have a lift station go down or an outage of a lift station in a certain area of town, we can roll that generator out there and keep the flow coming to the plant so it can be properly treated. And then last but not least on here is a large capital outlay is a new sludge truck. The sludge trucks that we currently have are back from like 1981 or so they're 30 to 32 years old, and they certainly need to be replaced. And as you can see, from 2014 to 2022, again, we're trying to allocate some money again for slip lining, and again, it depends on how much we can save in other areas on how much we'll be able to put toward that particular capital improvement. And of course, you're always going to have variations of what you might have to put into as far as repairs of lift stations and pumps and of course, vehicle replacement. Annual debt service, current projected. We are under our debt service program for fiscal year 13. We will have a debt service requirement of $772,219. The following year, you can say right here, it's roughly the same as we move forward. As this one Series A bond pays off, then of course this one increases in a similar amount so that we can start paying principal on that loan rather than just straight interest. In 2014, it shows a projected debt service. This would be if we were to go out in a phase 3 and borrow approximately $3.2 million to attack some of the equipment issues that Kenzie mentioned this evening. Of course, as council is aware, we're going to just complete phase 2, kind of let the dust settle a little bit and see what kind of improvements we've made not only to the plant but the collection system to see if there might be some equipment issues that we can either save cash up for and pay or possibly reduce because we may have a better result from our phase 1 and phase 2 improvements over what we initially thought. Then in turn, we may need to address those equipment repairs in the next couple of years, depending upon how well our first 2 phases work, and there's always new regulations being set forth by DNR as far as how to treat issues such as phosphorus, which was mentioned earlier tonight. Wastewater Operating Fund Revenue Expenditure Overview. On Schedule 2, we mentioned that next year we'll have approximately $1,445,000 in O&M cost. We're going to spend about $519,000 in cash for capital improvements, including the slip lining and the sludge truck. And that may be not a sludge truck, was it a vacuum? Or will that be for?
It was a sludge tanker.
Sludge tanker truck.
Yeah, we've currently got 2. We're looking to trade 2 against 1.
Okay. And then finally, Schedule 3, $672,219 for debt service. As you may recall, the slide before I mentioned that our debt service was going to be about $772,000, so there's a $100,000 difference there. The reason we will not need to transfer as much from the operating fund to the debt service fund by the amount of $100,000 is because when we set up the debt service fund initially, we had some funds in there as a cushion because we were doing what we call Build America credits, and we weren't sure how fast we'd get those credits from the federal government, so we had a little reserve in there. So we're going to use that to balance the 2 funds out this year. Again, total budgeted expenditures is $2,636,000. Our estimated revenue projection will be $2,565,000. So we'll be actually dipping into our reserves this year by an estimated $71,000 to $72,000. Wastewater user rate estimates. As mentioned earlier this evening, on 700 cubic feet, the estimated rate for sewer usage currently is about $30. This would be a 12% rate adjustment, so that same usage of 700 cubic feet per month would result in a monthly bill of about $34.46. In the slides moving forward, we will see that that is still a very reasonable rate as compared to other municipalities that we surveyed here in just the past few weeks. Here is that survey. We can see here our current rate on 700 cubic feet is approximately $30.77. That 12% adjustment would get us up to about $34.46. Columbia on the residential side is lower than what we have in the city of Mexico, but their commercial is significantly higher. Also, if you've been reading some articles in the Columbia Tribune as of late, or looking at council minutes online for the city of Columbia, they have about $59 million worth of improvements yet to make. So they're going to have to make some adjustments on the rate based on those improvements. Fulton, you can see we're just virtually the same on our rate. They have yet to make their adjustment for their upcoming fiscal year, but they weren't going to let the cat out of the bag and let me know before they let the community know as to what those rates might be. Hannibal, their rate's a little bit less than the City of Mexico, but they have about $4.7 million worth of improvements that they're looking at making in the next 12 months. So again, they'll have to likely make an adjustment to rates to cover those improvements. Jefferson City, their rate's a little bit lower than ours currently. However, they provide treatment to Holt Summit, so they're able to charge Holt Summit a fairly significant rate. They're kind of a captured client of theirs, so they're able to make that up to some degree by charging the outside users more. Marshall, you can see their rates slightly more than ours, and they've been addressing issues similar to ours. Moberly's rate is about $10 a month, $10 a month higher than our rate is as proposed. I think in our scheduling currently, it would take us to about 2017 before our rate would start approaching Moberly's current rate. But they have the same issues. They're a mechanical plant. They also have to separate their sanitary sewer from their stormwater, which is a costly process. Odessa and looking at the city area, the rates probably that higher than ours. Osage Beach, they charge a different rate for residential versus commercial. Oddly enough, you take those two blended and it becomes a rate similar to ours. They also provide service to other municipalities surrounding them, and they charge a rate 300% over their own town's rate, again, to bring in additional revenue and keep the rate down for their residents. Sedalia, again, they've just had some significant improvements to their plant, and they elected to pass it, that bulk of that more on to the businesses rather than their residential customers. And it goes on and on as far as doing the survey. So you can see we're kind of midstream. We're not out of line in any direction as far as what our rates are compared to surrounding communities. This kind of shows where we've been and where we're going. When we went to do these improvements, again, roughly we got about 11.4 million out right now. Originally it was estimated at about 12.5 million improvements that we needed. When the study was done clear back in 2008, 2009. The largest adjustment took place in fiscal year 2010, where our rates had an increase of approximately 60%. Then it was cut in half to about 30%. The rate the year we're in right now is a 19% adjustment. This next year proposed 12%. And then you can see once we get by another year, then we just get basically back to 3 and 4% adjustments, given that no other significant improvements or borrowings take place. Here is kind of the hammer for us when people talk to us about rates. We have bonds which have covenants, and we have ratings such as with Standard & Poor's, which we have a AA- rating, which is a very, very strong rating. But in the covenants of those bonds, this last part that's highlighted, it says if in any fiscal year net revenues are an amount less than the hereinbefore provided, the city will immediately employ a consultant to make a recommendation with respect to such rates and charges. So, we do our best to make a recommendation to council as to what our rates need to be to keep our good rating, make our payments, and take care of business as far as wastewater operations. If we don't make the proper recommendation or we don't make the adjustments that we think are necessary, then the covenants say we're going to have to hire someone to tell us the same and make the rate adjustments. So we're trying to avoid doing that. And I'd be glad to answer any questions from council or the public.
I think what was said earlier about Kenzie concerning And I think you mentioned as well, as long as we can hold off the Phase 3, I think is a good deal. You know, these rates have gone up significantly, and I'll just give you my experience. When I came to Mexico and moved into our house in 1995, I think the bill was about $11 a month. Now that was everything to the city. That includes your trash and all that. And now it's approaching $40. So in a period of less than 20 years, it's gone up significantly. So I think we have to be cognizant about the citizens of Mexico paying these bills. So, and you know, we all understand that we have to do some of these things. We have no choice in it. EPA or DNR, we have to meet these regulations. And certainly we don't, as a community, want to pollute our streams and the environment. And we want to be able to have a system that can accept economic development in our community, because we do need jobs. So I think it's important for us to stay on top of it, but it's also important for us to watch our dollars and investment and not do anything that we really don't have to do until we need to at this point in time. I think, like you stated, a delay in Phase 3, see how things come out in the next 2 or 3 years, and see where we're at. So I think that's good. Are there any public comments? Mrs. Thompson, would you like to come up? And I'm sure Roger probably can answer. I know one of the questions you had asked me earlier was, well, first of all, we probably need to get your name and address for our recording.
Carolyn Thompson, 808 East Monroe, Mexico, Missouri.
Go ahead.
Well, what I want to know is, what about the smell from the sewer plant? Is anything going to be done about it? Over in this end of town, if the wind is blowing a certain direction, the smell, you can smell it.
We have not had any complaints called into our office about sewer odors for well over a year since we got, or more than that, since we got rid of the Teva sludge that was stored out at the plant. That's not to say that there aren't some odors from time to time, and since we're under construction right now, we have had to store some sludge, some liquid sludge in our lagoon from time to time. As the construction progresses, we try to pump that out and take it out as soon as possible. So I'm sure that there have probably been some odors from time to time, but we're doing our best to try to keep the odors down, and I think we've done fairly well with it since we got rid of the Teva sludge.
It's been brought up to me by several people that live over around Jeff Street and stuff, that the smell, when the wind is blowing, they can smell it. And I do know my brother used to live over around Myers Street before all of this went into effect. As a matter of fact, he moved, and one reason was because he had a severe heart condition, and the smell, he could not take it.
There were odors a few years ago, but I think we've taken steps to eliminate.
Well, I think it's better than it was, but we still have it.
Some of that's the nature of the business.
Well, we live on this end of town, you live on that end.
You have some other comments?
Well, I think your rate increase is pretty high for fixed income people and people on minimum wage jobs that live from month to month on budgets. I would rather see every household have a certain amount to pay so everyone knows what they're going to pay every month, instead of each month you get a bill and it's higher than the month before. Get on an even basis with everybody paying the same amount so they know what they're going to pay every month.
I can address the adjustment certainly that you see on your trash and sewer bill when it changes by a few pennies from one month to another. Actually, for a residential customer, The sewer portion of the bill only changes once a year. That's based on a 4-month winter average from December through March.
Ours goes up a few pennies every month.
Right, and the reason you see a little change in the total bill, again, it's a trash and sewer bill, is the trash portion of the bill fluctuates based on fuel prices. That is within our agreement with Danes Waste Disposal. So anytime there is a 5% adjustment in the fuel price from month to month, that can make that total bill adjust by a penny for every 5 cents, whether it be higher or lower. Right now, the fuel adjustment for the trash sanitation side of that bill is about 31 to 32 cents over the base rate. This fluctuated during the last year anywhere from about 28 cents to 34 cents. So in answering your question, the adjustment's really coming from the sanitation side rather than the sewer side.
The sewer side.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I would still like to see everybody charge the same amount, because the people it's hurting is the people that have children and use a lot of water. They're gonna pay a lot more sewer charge.
I mean, that's a good comment. I appreciate you making that comment. On the flip side of that, if you had a family of 4 or 5 and they were paying let's say the same rate as a family of 1 or 2, then there would be absolutely no motivation for the new conservative in their water use. So then if they just left everything running, then everything would flow to the plant, and there would be higher cost of treating the water at the plant. Even if it's just tap water nothing that goes straight down the drain, there's a cost for treating it. So to some degree, usage and cost of usage does provide kind of a governor to the throttle to make sure people just do not waste water.
Well, you know, if we're wasting water, how comes the water is being wasted up here by the old telephone company? There's been a water leak there for 6 months. The water is still running down the road.
Do you know whether or not it's been reported in Missouri American Water? If not, we'll be glad to.
Well, surely somebody has been there for 6 months.
Right. What location is that, ma'am?
It's up there by the old telephone company.
Promenade Coal.
Okay. Okay. We'll make that note.
I mean, to me, that's a waste of water.
Well, again, the actual water that you drink, that is not a service that the city provides. That is through Missouri American Water, but we'd be glad to let them know of that particular leak so we can check it out.
Yeah, because that water's just running down the road. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Are there any other comments, questions?
I have one.
Okay.
If we're talking about postponing phase 3, so is that going to translate into the rates? Because these rates are for doing all 3 phases, right?
The actual rate that would be for 2013 fiscal year is not incorporating the borrowings and potential borrowings in 2014 or 15.
Yeah, I understand, but I mean going forward beyond that.
Yes. Yeah, the following year where it shows a anticipated 10% rate adjustment, that would be, to council's pleasure. Do they want to go ahead with the schedule, which would allow Public Works Department to have more cash to attack the slip lining system with cash, which then could in turn help us reduce future borrowings. That would be a council decision, and that would be something we would certainly be glad to provide more information.
Thank you.
Anything else? I move that we close the public hearing.
Yes.
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 Under new business resolutions this evening, we have bill number 2012-57, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Missouri Life for requested funding from the Mexico tourism tax. This is up for reading and passage. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. The Mexico Tourism Commission has recommended that we do this advertising, and to cover the details, I will turn to Roger Haynes.
Recently, the Mexico Tourism Commission reviewed an application and a request to do some advertising through Missouri Life publication. And the Tourism Commission, after a presentation by Missouri Life, and of course Mike Keller with Missouri Life did a presentation to council some time back. They would like to have council to concur with their commission's recommendation that $10,200 be allocated to Missouri Life publication beginning this fall and running through a part of 2013. And I'd be glad to answer any questions regarding that publication.
I don't have any questions about the publication. I think it's a good publication. I would question spending that much money because I was just looking through the chamber events for the last year. And while some months I could see maybe doing a huge splash, there's a lot of months I don't see much in this calendar that's really going to bring people to Mexico, Missouri for that kind of money. And you're asking to spend a quarter of the tourism budget. And the whole idea of the tourism budget is to bring people to Mexico, potentially to stay here. And I would challenge anybody to prove that a quarter of what they're getting from the revenue comes from this magazine. So, I mean, I don't have anything against magazine. I just think it's a lot of advertising that, you know, what are you going to advertise in December, January, February? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in Mexico during the spring, during the summer. But over the winter, why do we need full-page ads? Why do we need all that?
Of course, it is marketing, and some things you can certainly prove out with dollars, and some things are intangible. I think the main thing with the marketing through this magazine, and if you know, I'm relaying what the commission was seeing, is the fact that it was putting Mexico out there consistently throughout the year with large color ads, and that they were not only promoting Mexico, but they were also advertising other events that are currently supported by the Tourism Commission and Council, such as our Walk Back in Time and Miss Missouri pageant. Then hopefully in the near future we'll also promote the Grants Trail as Mexico being a stop for visiting the Old Village Cemetery, the Elmwood Cemetery, and the museum as part of the Grants Trail historical route. This past week, I had the opportunity to be at the Missouri Municipal League, and one of the sessions was basically on marketing for tourism. And we had the pleasure of having the director for the Lake of the Ozarks area there speaking, and he represented 4 counties down there. And he talked quite a bit about the fact of consistency in advertising and getting yourselves, basically beyond your traditional radio and newsprint. Although those are important, you need to look at your magazine subscriptions and your YouTube and Google so that you can get your identity out there as many times as possible. One of the things that I thought was very interesting in that was the fact that whether I wanted to go along with it or not, they said basically the ladies of the home make the determination as to where you go on vacation and if you're going to enjoy yourself or not. And when I got to thinking about that, and I got to visit with my wife at home, I found out that was really pretty true. And the unique thing about Missouri Life, similar to like a larger chain like Red Book or whatever, it is highly looked over by the female population, and that it really does hit a large crowd, and it hits the crowd that end up on a high percentage basis spend their money in Missouri. Now our goal is, of course, not to get people not only spend their money in tourism in Missouri, but try to say, oh, Mexico, Missouri, here it is, here's what they have to offer. And I think with our combination of the way that towns around us are advertising, such as your Boonville and Fulton and Columbia and even Hannibal now, that we might fit well within that mix. Again, it's marketing. I don't have any numbers to show you, but I know in visiting with Mr. Kellner with Missouri Life, the numbers matched up well with the conference that I attended, or the session I attended at MML. So all of a sudden I was getting the same numbers from two different sources, and they matched up, so they gave me a little more confidence in how that money is spent. And certainly the commission is confident in how that is spent, because each year they've wanted to allocate some of that annual money to Missouri Life magazine.
Yeah, we went backwards and now we're going back forward. Yeah, the council can do as they please. I just don't see spending a quarter of the budget. How much do we charge for the hotel tax?
3%.
3%?
We bring in roughly a range of anywhere from 40,000. I think our best year was a little over 50,000 as far as hotel tax. This year that we're in right now, the fiscal year 2012, we're going to be very close to bringing in 42,000 in that tax. And yes, you're correct. Approximately 1/4 of that is going to the magazine, approximately 1/4 to the pageant, and then a little less than 1/4 going to Walk Back in Time.
Yeah, it might be that next year might want to, at least from my perspective, and I'll give you mine, I can support this since I think basically it's the only advertising that we really do outside of Mexico to market Mexico in total, other than the thing in Kingdom City, the tourism center there. I think we spent $1,200 a month ago or whenever it was to support that. So I would suggest that maybe next year we look at, maybe 20% or less of our tourism budget allocated to that rather than 25% or something like that. So keep more of it so we can use for our local events to support them. That would be my opinion.
Your Honor, I'd kind of like to see the commission next year look at some other possibilities too. Right offhand, I don't know if there's anything comparable to the expenditure from Missouri Life, but I have a feeling, and I'm sure Roger got a feel for it probably at the MML, that there are other things outside of the city limits of Mexico that we could be doing to promote Mexico, and maybe to have the commission give us some alternatives, if that could be suggested to them.
We certainly can bring that to them, to their attention at the next meeting. With the changes in demographics and technology, I think we're always going to have to look at different ways to promote Mexico.
Put it in a little bit better, more perspective, if we were charging at 3%, that's almost $400,000 in hotel sales you're attributing to one magazine. I don't see that. I think our biggest hotel draw is the MMA, and they aren't coming for a magazine. They're coming because their kids are here.
Okay. Move for reading of bill number 2012 57.
Second.
Nichols?
Yes.
Lush?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Bill number 2012-57, resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Missouri Life for requested funding from the Mexico tourism tax. Whereas the Mexican Tourism Commission recommends to City Council that Missouri Life be allowed to receive tourism funding for the tourism advertising campaign. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Mexico, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that the city manager be authorized to enter into an agreement on behalf of the City of Mexico and Missouri Life for tourism funding. Section 2, this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after the time of its passage. Move for passage of bill number 2012-57.
Second.
Nichols?
Yes.
Lush?
Yes.
Williams?
No. Nay.
Miller?
Yes.
Next, we have Bill number 2012-58, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Hofer Wysocki Architects, LLC, HWA, to update the city's comprehensive plan. This is up for reading and passage. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. We've gone through the selection process with this. As you know from the work session in August, that the committee was here to make the recommendation to you that we proceed with negotiating the contract. We now have the contract, and to cover the details, I will turn to Rita Jackson.
This attached resolution authorizes the city manager to execute an agreement with Hofer Wysocki Architects, LLC, HWA, for services to update the city's comprehensive plan. Request for qualifications for professional engineering and planning services was published in the Mexico Ledger on May 1st, 2012, posted on the city's and the American Planning Association's website, and mailed to 18 engineering firms. 7 RFQs were received on May 16th. City staff, being Bruce Kinsey and I, and Planning and Zoning member Bob Marty, evaluated and ranked the RFQs. From that, 4 firms were selected for interviews, which were held July 5th and 6th. The interview panel consisted of the 3 staff members that I mentioned earlier, Councilman Williams, and Planning and Zoning member Kyle Cone, and Chamber Executive Dana Keller. The interviews basically consisted of a 20 to 30-minute presentation, which each firm basically gave their approach, how they would handle updating the comprehensive plan, their scope of work, and references based on where they had worked before. It consisted of a 20-minute question and answer period and a 10-minute wrap-up. The committee met again on July 16th, and based on the information gathered from the reference check, the firms were narrowed to 2. The committee decided then to request scope of work and manpower hour budget from SKW, Schaefer, Klein & Warren, and HWA, and they were received on August 3rd. We held another meeting on August the 13th, and the committee made a recommendation to approve the firm of HWA to update the city's comprehensive plan. We also held a work session on August 27th, which council concurred with the committee's recommendation and authorized staff to negotiate a contract and cost from HWA. The 2011 and 12 and the 2012 and 13 annual budgets allow $120,000 for the update of the comprehensive plan. HWA contract amount is $107,830 with an add alternative with a maximum not to exceed $9,400 for a web-based public outreach program, for a total project budget not to exceed $117,230. The public outreach web-based program, it has a range from $4,900 to the $9,400, which once the contract is actually executed, staff will sit down and actually look at that website called a Mind Mixer to just see how much public outreach we want to have. It is capable of having surveys and comment periods from the surveys, and we would look at that at a later date, but it would not exceed the $9,400. Staff recommends that council proceed with the reading and passage of the attached resolution.
I'm going to go make trouble again, sorry. I'm going to say, this is my opinion, this is a lot. And I could ask you questions, that's great, and you could probably give me some good answers, but really, I really would like them here to answer my questions. And my concern is, not only are they not here tonight, for a $120,000 contract. When you look in here, there's a lot of, we're going to take phone calls and we're going to have conference calls. And I don't know how that works. I don't think that's really what we were wanting. I think they're a great firm, but I think they need to understand we need some skin in the game.
It's two things, actually. They were not here tonight because they were not requested to be here. They actually were here the night that we had the work session
Yeah, I was here.
to ask additional questions. And once the contract, they do understand that there will be public meetings. It's not a lots of conference calls, and it will be public contact with public meetings scheduled once we actually sign the contract and sit down with them. I don't know just how, what, back in '07 when we actually were in the process of doing the comprehensive plan, back then the contract came in at $110,000. City staff cut it down to $50,000. So if you look at from '07 till now, it's pretty much, within the same amount.
I wouldn't have a problem so much with their price. What I have issues is that a lot of people in the community aren't very fond of this idea in the first place because of last time. And I think we have to go above and beyond due diligence in this process. And I think like you said, they came to a work session, but there's a big difference between them giving me an overview of the project and me looking at the actual contract and saying, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but I don't think it's going to make a big deal if we wait 2 weeks, is it? And I ask them to come and give us and the community a peace of mind.
And I will say they were not asked. I'll put that as an oversight on me.
Yeah, if you would like to do that, that's certainly your option. I think we assumed, based on the last time that they were here, that those questions were answered. If you have more, we can certainly ask them to come and be here.
Well, I think from a community standpoint and from what happened last time.
And can I say about what happened last time? And again, we had a $110,000 contract, which we cut down to $50,000. So we really did not have what it took to actually get a comprehensive plan update, So they actually gave us a contract, and we thought that we could do lots of it in-house. We were trying to save dollars then. I think that sometimes the plan got a little off course based on some of the public input and comments. I don't think that maybe sometimes the public does not really understand really what a comprehensive plan is. It's a segment of several entities, whether it be transportation, whether it be your housing, whether it be your infrastructure. And I think we just got tunnel vision on one aspect of it, and a lot was lost in the process of that. And I think that given what we did or did not happen at the last one, I think that we're more prepared this time to actually watch it better and make sure that we don't end up with some of the same things that happened before. And staff is very much aware of that.
How long has it been, Roger, since we had a planner working for the city?
Ed Siegman.
Ed Siegman was the last one, wasn't he?
Yeah, probably 96, 97.
We actually had a city planner at one time.
And we actually,
On
he
payroll.
was,
Well, the person that actually was here.
he was hired to update that plan, and we still didn't get a comprehensive plan. So it has been several years that we have been working without.
I think the last adopted plan was 1988.
Your Honor, if any member of the council has questions on a contract this large, I think it would behoove us to postpone the vote on it until we get those questions answered.
Well, we'll just move on. Does that sound okay?
Do we need to table it?
It just won't act. So we'll move on to, thank you, Rita.
Thanks.
We will move on to new business then. We have Bill number 2012-59, an ordinance amending Chapter 14, Article 3, Division 4, Section 14-123 of the Mexico City Code relating to sanitary sewer use charge. This is up for first reading by title only. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. Earlier this evening, we did hold a public hearing, providing information and background on the rates, the planning, the necessary improvements that we've identified. And so therefore, council, if there are any questions, we will answer those. Otherwise, we would just recommend that you proceed with the first reading by title only.
Well, then they'll all have to pay sewer rates, and you gotta do something with it, so. One of those necessary evils. I'll make a motion to read bill number 2012-59.
Second.
Yes.
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 No, if I read this, you read this. Bill number 2012-59, an ordinance amending Chapter 14, Article 3, Division 4, Section 14 through 123 of the Mexico City Code relating to sanitary sewer charge. I move. I just moved.
Next, under old business, we have an ordinance. This is for second reading by title only and passage. This is Bill number 2012-55, an ordinance revising the budget for the City of Mexico, Missouri for the fiscal year October 1, 2011 to September 30, 2012, inclusive, and adopting the proposed budget for the fiscal year October 1, 2012 to September 30, 2013, inclusive, appropriating the funds as allocated to various accounts, and authorizing the expenditure of such funds by the city manager and other officials for the purposes indicated. Bruce?
You ready?
Your Honor. We did hold the public hearing in the first reading of this ordinance on September 10th. The budget has been presented to you and for approval. I do want to make one note of a change, and it is basically in clerical only. It is on page 21 of the document. For some reason, the addition factor didn't play, and this is actually dealing with the past year. And it does not change anything with this budget at all, but it very well could affect the estimated ending balance. It didn't, it's for some reason, the program did not pick up the, this is in the public safety budget, the SCBA tanks, the 35,000, even though it was budgeted and noted. For some reason, it didn't carry it over to the total. I have no reason to know why. We did catch that. It doesn't change anything as far as the numbers, but it could change the ending balance a little bit of the current year we're in. But as we knew, that was an estimate going into it anyway, because we knew that we're not exactly sure what the bottom line will be, and probably couldn't even answer that until next week. So we always give you the estimate anyway. So that will, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that that total didn't get there. I'm sure probably no one would have caught it, but I want to be completely upfront, transparent with you that didn't catch it. We did catch it later. Again, doesn't change anything in the current, in the budget you're reading. I just wanted you to know that. So therefore, staff does recommend council proceed with the second reading by title only and passage and approving of the 2012-13 operating and capital budget for the city.
That was about 32,000 something.
35,000.
What, yeah, the actual bid?
Actual bid.
Ended up
Yeah.
coming under that, under the 35 and through the budget.
Like 32.4, something like that.
Motion, we read second reading and pass it, bill number 2012-55.
Second.
Title only.
Nichols?
Yes.
Nash?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Bill number 2012-55, an ordinance revising the budget for the City of Mexico, Missouri for the fiscal year October 1st, 2011 to September 30th, 2012 inclusive, and adopting the budget for the fiscal year October 1, 2012 to September 30, 2013 inclusive, appropriating the funds as allocated to various accounts and authorizing the expenditure of such funds by the city manager and other officials for the purposes indicated.
Okay, excuse me.
Move for passage of Bill 2012-55.
Second.
Yes.
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 Okay, now we're ready for other business, and under that, we have the claims. I have one question I'd like to ask on that, and I don't know if we've had this out there before. It seemed odd, but as a first item was refund a cigarette tax of $1,808. What is that?
The state reported the cigarette shops tax in Vanderbilt Village to come to us. And once that was spotted, they were notified, so it was refunded back to the state so it could go to the appropriate party, Vanderbilt Village.
Okay. So it really belonged to Vanderbilt Village?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
That's an honest thing to do. Thank you.
Is there anything else?
Make a motion to pay the
I move we,
claims.
go ahead.
Second.
Yes.
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 Okay, council comments. Councilman Williams?
Actually, and kind of goes back to our work session, but one of the things I get a lot of questions on now is economic development. And so I think we've had the pleasure of having just about everybody speak and talk to us in a work session. So I think, come on, Russell, I think it's your turn. I would like to see, I'd like to see the next work session.
All right.
Yeah, and then maybe we can put it on some kind of calendar date to, every quarter, every 6 months or something, because that's something everybody cares about, Not that we don't care about the rest of y'all in your areas, but his area drives everybody else's area. So, and I'd like to say thank you for all your hard work at the sewer plant. I know it's been tough, and Roger, the budget again, awesome job. Numbers. So, always nice to know we're not going to be filing for bankruptcy next week.
Well, thank everybody from Mexico and give me the opportunity to attend the MML conference. Learned quite a bit. Found out that you can be at a town for 40 years and get lost when you go back. So, I also had the opportunity, thanks to the mayor, of attending the 20th anniversary of Zenith Aircraft yesterday and Saturday. Sorry, Chris. Anyway, it's a real nice conference. We get 20 years out there. So that's it.
Councilman Bell?
First of all, I'd like to thank Kenzie for getting that pothole fixed at the corner of Western and Hazel. Thank you. I've had a lot of compliments on that, believe it or not. Secondly, we've passed the budget, Chad. How soon are we going to start on the restrooms down at Garfield?
Well, we'll have to get a request for proposals completed here, and it's actually on a list of priorities as well.
Okay. So we're toward the top of the list then?
Yeah, very top list. My hope would be that we can get the request for proposal, everything done, get somebody locked in so that we can have something ready to open in the spring.
Okay, great.
I wouldn't expect to be far enough along to have it open yet this year, because we've only got about probably 5 weeks till we close the restrooms, 4 weeks. We won't be able to get all that done from October 1.
But Mayor, I just want to reiterate too that, and Roger explained it very well, but he knows a whole lot more about this in a lot more terms than I do. The people voted for this sewer improvements, and $12 million, up to $16 million, wasn't it? And that's why the rate increases have to come every year. So it's not something that we as a council or we as a city are just dreamed up to do. This was voted on by the public and received a 10-to-1 margin. So as distasteful as it is to have to raise the sewer rates every year, it's required, and it was voted by the people. And thank you for all the hard work on the budget, all the department staff and directors and Roger and Bruce. I know it's a monumental task, and I really appreciate how well you've done. Thank you.
Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. I have received notice from the Government Finance Officers Association that our comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year ending September 30, 2011, has qualified for the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting, and it represents a significant accomplishment by the government and its management on its financial reporting. And so we are very proud to receive that, and my compliments to Roger and the Administrative Services Department for working on the audit in the certified annual financial report, and that is a 22nd year?
23 actually.
22 years in a row, so that is really quite an accomplishment.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. That is good to know that our city is meeting all those guidelines, and I know they're pretty meticulous to be able to meet those. We were talking about this earlier on the sewer and the smell. Ironically, I met with an individual this morning for coffee, and he was talking about driving by the baseball fields down next to the sewer plant across the highway there. And it's either Friday night or Saturday night, and he lives in, about 3 blocks from there also. And he told me, he said, you guys have made tremendous improvements with the smell in the area, but he said Friday night or Saturday, he couldn't remember which night it was that drove by there. He said they were out there playing and putting. He said, I don't see how the kids stood it out there. He said the smell was really bad, so there must have been a piece of equipment at the plant that wasn't working.
That's entirely possible, but unless somebody calls us in that time frame, it's hard for us to tell what it might have been.
Yeah, well, this guy's an engineer, so he knows what he was smelling when I was out there. So I'm sure he did smell sewer out there, but he does admit, though, that we've done a really good job cleaning with, because he's lived here for over 20-some years, and he's well aware of the smell that was there before. It's not there now. So congratulations to Zenith on their 20 years. I think that's important, that we have businesses that are we start up in this community and are here 20 years later, and that speaks well of our economic development program. So any other comments? I move we adjourn.
Public.
Oh, excuse me. We have public comments. Do we have any public comments? Seeing none, I move we adjourn.
Yes.
Les?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Yes. Let's take it to the end.